got past eating on the podcast a long time ago after
I did.
we constantly mocked Dave and called him podcast cancer.
I've got a little mute.
We bring fistfuls of stuff, man.
Yeah.
We used to play Guess How Much Dave Spent on Snacks. Do you remember that?
Yeah. And guess what he got? Right? Did we do that? No, just like Price is Right.
Brad's got himself a Mandingo side sandwich in there.
Mandingo.
Man, there's a lot of people in here.
And he was complaining about not having enough mayonnaise. So.
Oh, God.
I make my own. It's organic.
I make it every 15 minutes.
Actually, cut the sandwich in half. It's a Christmas miracle. Nah, this Jimmy John's that they had fucking made it when I ordered it. Isn't the load time for Domino's pizza and sandwiches all 3 minutes for everything?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be.
I drove from work, or I submitted my order, did my cash out, left work, drove to Jimmy John's, speed limit the whole time, still didn't have my fucking sandwich made.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
Well, that's
I
like
thought they were freaky fast.
Publix did that shit to me a couple times. Like you order it and they say, yeah, 30 minutes, and that seems a little long, but you figure, okay, I'll give it the 30 minutes, and then you show up and they're like, we didn't realize we had an online order. Oh, sorry. Oh, we'll get right on that.
Hey, I'm gonna play a game for this podcast. Hey, Brad. Hey, Brad.
This is mute
The
button.
game is every time Brad takes a bite, I'm gonna ask him a question.
That's awesome. Fucking great.
Well, I hope you got a lot of questions.
A Mandingo load of questions.
Brad, hey Brad, it's been a while since you've been on the podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah. Feeling hungry right now?
Brad, I can't believe you're eating while we're doing the podcast.
Nobody told me we started.
Oh man, that's been so long since we've done one of those. We used to get Todd with it all the time. He'd get so mad.
That's
We'd
true.
talk for like 30 minutes and be like, "Oh, we were recording all this." He'd be like, "What?
What did I say?
What?"
Oh,
That's about right.
Patrick tried to be sneaky with it for a long time.
It was good.
But I had the side eye because I was always next to him, so I could always see when he hit record. So
Becca's got the side eye.
it didn't fool me very often.
Y'all ever seen these paper straws before?
Yeah,
Fucking gold around this town.
I'll bet. Yeah, everywhere in Florida they don't give
Seagull
you straws.
safe.
And if you ask for straws, they try to guilt you about it because of turtles.
You really need a straw?
I say, guys, we're trying to save the sea turtles, so we don't give out straws. But if you guys really want them, I'll give them to you. I won't judge you.
Is that new? Is that
Yeah.
a new?
What?
Since
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The sea turtles, big business around here.
It makes me almost
Really,
want to go
yeah.
ask for a paper straw when they give me, but go with my teeth all clenched and go like, I need a straw. My jaw's broke, you ass.
for a change.
Right. Fuck the seagulls.
The seagulls.
Yeah, fuck the seagulls. Who needs them?
There's tons of them now hanging out. If they can't eat down there, they just come to Walmart.
Well, who else would clean up the Walmart parking lot if we didn't?
That's good.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I guess I never did get the answer to the question from Brad though. Brad, how's it going?
Oh.
We haven't seen you.
Oh, it's been good. I've met 2 celebrities since the last time I've been on the podcast. That was pretty neat.
Ooh.
I mean, are they real celebrities or are they just made up ones? Like,
One is named Buzz Aldrin. I believe, was on the moon at one point.
That's
Prove
what
it.
Prove it.
Supposedly, as far as we know.
yeah.
Allegedly. And the other one was a guy named Harry Hill, who I guess is a really big actor in Britain. He has a Wikipedia, so first off, legitimacy off the bat.
Mhm.
And he had a Harry Hill movie come out in 2013, and he hosts some show that makes fun of like soap operas. I guess it's like this. Talk Soup. If Talk Soup was funny.
Yeah, it was like he was going through a bunch of it was mostly it was sitcoms and soaps, right? And he would just he was given kind of the rundown of the week's shows and just kind of making jokes about them and shit. It was all right. It was okay. It was good. You know, maybe if we had recognized the shows, we would have been laughing more.
Well, yeah, if
So in a nutshell, it was
British humor, just as a whole.
Yeah, it was BBC, so it was covering all the BBC shows, and I don't watch BBC except for rarely.
I watch Black Mirror. That's.
Oh, is that BBC?
Yeah. Well, I think it's funded by BBC. I think like all the shows are.
I watched Planet Earth on BBC.
Oh. That's good.
What am I on?
Batch narrates, or is that a different one?
You know, I don't know the answer to that.
He does one of those that I watched.
But Planet Earth and Planet Earth 2. I actually own the first one, like on DVD. That shit's good.
Planet Earth 2, the sequel to Planet Earth.
You thought Planet Earth was great. Wait till you get a load of Planet Earth 2.
Planet Earth 2, the apocalypse.
The Earth apocalypse.
What we have paper straws for.
Yeah, this is keeping us.
Yeah.
This is how we get Planet Earth 3 here.
Don't give those paper straws to children or people that like to chew on straws. As my dad was down to, he was down in Boca Raton, which is a couple hours south, to visit his grandson, and so I went down there and spent the day with him. And we went to this restaurant. Of course, they were doing the paper straw thing too, and he gave one to Emmett, and he just chewed that thing to hell. Like, he just kept it in his mouth, and it just got soggy so fast. I don't know how anybody could use a paper straw for very long.
You can't.
I would look. The only thing I see as a benefit of a paper straw is that you can rip the end off, chew it up a little bit.
It's
and the
It's
rifle
a self-contained weapon for young vandals.
Yeah, I mean, you could just have like bunches of like quivers of paper straws, and you're, devastating.
Yeah.
You'll have barrel failure. I think you get like 3 shots out of one paper straw, and then you just gotta fuck this, reload, boom.
Goddamn quiver, bro.
And then, the barrel becomes another shot. What's left of your barrel becomes another shot.
If our audience was mostly made up of 4th graders, you'd really be onto something here.
Well, let's talk about.
Listen to this, right?
Yeah, we listen to it. Y'all don't.
Yeah, I do listen to this show, and I'm not in 4th grade.
Yet.
Not anymore.
No.
Never was.
Not yet.
How's everybody? How's everybody else doing?
I'm
I
just.
think I answered the question.
I'm hanging.
You hanging?
Mm-hmm. I mean, not Mandingo, but I'm hanging.
No.
What is Mandingo? I've heard it 3 times now.
So if I put this by my wiener, that's a Mandingo. Let me illustrate, guys. We got webcams.
I still don't get it.
So if I hold this sandwich like this,
Mandingo is an actual
Something just
black
fell.
porn star, a dude, and his dick's like 1.5 feet long. It's like that.
let me get the other piece. I'll show you.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I'm not going to get the other piece.
Let's go hold the chair.
I knocked the chair over to show you my Mandingo.
Okay, so now I know what Mandingo is.
There you go.
Nathan's explanation was helpful. Brad's demonstration was all right.
I'll take that.
You guys missed the hurricane this time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice not to get hit by a hurricane this year.
It barely even rained.
Yeah, it's great. I was concerned. All you did was mock me.
I wasn't trying to mock at first, but you took it to a mocking place, so I followed you there. I was just saying that it was on the other side of the state. It's like it was out in the Gulf, and like way out in the Gulf. Like the west coast of Florida barely got any of it, as far as I could tell. But man, Mexico City got it bad.
I wanted to have you pull up the before and after of Mexico City Beach. I thought that was amazing. I knew there's a picture. I saw it on the news this morning, and I thought that was incredible. I couldn't believe that shit, man.
It looks like an old picture.
Yes.
It looks like a picture of it before it was developed.
You looking for an aerial photo? Or?
Yeah, there's an aerial photo that
that's just
exists that
images.
it's side by side or top over bottom, and it has the before and after. And Becca's right. I that's a good way to put it. Is like, we're going to build all these wonderful homes on the beach, and then you could reverse it. It was that bad. There you go.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
fucking amazing.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, the Panhandle was was ill prepared for that. They apparently have never experienced Category 4 hurricane there.
At landfall, yeah.
Yeah, landfall.
I think just the general attitude of everybody in Florida is just like, hurricane, whatever. Psh, we've done it before. We'll do it again. This ain't our first rodeo.
Well, one of the guys they were interviewing, he said if I'd known it was a Cat 4 landfall, I would not have stayed.
Yeah.
Well, weren't they saying that like the days leading up to it?
No, it was going to be 1-1, and
oh, really?
Jumped like the day before, or 12 hours before it hit. It gained a bunch of speed or something.
And really, that's almost too close to even try to get out on the road and get out.
Yeah.
Still going to beat Mad Max like Irma was.
Yeah.
People getting into knife fights at gas stations for the last bit of gas. We got to see part of the apocalypse with Irma.
Yeah, it was great.
Preview.
You guys saw a knife fight at a gas station?
I didn't see it, but somebody I know saw a knife fight at a gas station. He was like, I got my gas, I got out of there. And he lived up in South Carolina, or his parents did, and that's who he was going to go see.
Wow.
But yeah, human courtesy tends to go out the window when there's no gas and there's a storm coming.
Yeah, that storm's coming. I'm getting my water, like Dave always talks about. Got to get your water, and then I'm getting nails and a wooden baseball bat, and I'm gonna start driving those nails into that bat, so I can.
You're not off. And matter of fact,
So I can be like in Mad Max.
God, you make me want to go home and play Fallout on my stream. Oh no, Rage. Yeah.
Yeah, because play Fallout, Dave.
You're right, I don't.
Because you've ever
I was about
paid.
to ask you if 76 is out yet.
Nah. Beta comes out on the 23rd of October.
And then
You gonna get it?
I already pre-ordered it.
Oh shit, I'm behind.
Dave has asked me at least 7 times. You did pre-order it, didn't you? At least 7 times he's asked me that, and every time the answer is no.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't what?
Don't pre-order it.
Okay. I didn't plan on it. I mean,
there's
it's a video game. It's not like if they're going to run out of it.
We're supposed to not be pre-ordering games. That's what, like, for years, every time a big game is about to come out, you see these posts on Reddit about, like, don't pre-order the game. They're just going to put out an unfinished product. And then everybody pre-orders it.
I guess they're right. Arc still feels unfinished to me.
Yeah.
And it's what? We've had it for 2 years.
Yeah.
It's fun, but there's so many bugs, and it's
Yeah, I mean,
so
that's
annoying.
It's a different kind of thing. I just, with that kind of game, specifically 76, it's like they're doing something they haven't done before.
I could see.
And, if it was the next Elder Scrolls or whatever, or Red Dead Redemption 2, you know that's going to be good. You have a certain expectation for that, so I don't really see a big deal with it. But something like 76, I would want to know exactly how that thing is going to play.
Well, I'm wondering about the Red Dead Redemption online experience. Is it going to be as bad as the Grand Theft Auto online experience?
Probably.
Because it's still Rockstar.
I
feel like
for that anyway. So
Do what?
I'm not getting it for that.
You're
anyway.
not. Yeah.
I mean, Todd. That's all Todd is talking about. He wants to start up his posse and stuff, and that.
Yeah.
Just want,
Todd said the same thing about Grand Theft Auto and starting a posse. Hey guys, it's $20. I took the pill. Now nobody wants to play. Especially
I'll
Todd.
play.
But you play. You guys play.
Yeah, you guys play, and keep
A
in
lot.
mind, GTA. I think he removed that from his machine too.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Well, he was the one that told me, "Hey, if you don't have it, get GTA now. It's $20." I bought it under the assumption that we would get to play together, but has not
Hasn't happened once. We got Nathan to try, but the internet wouldn't have it.
Nathan tried his damnedest.
I got to watch you guys in a stream.
Yeah.
That was very nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for raiding us.
Bringing all those people, yeah. Yeah, that was cool. Like, that was the only time. I mean, we've not streamed much. I mean, we might have 4 or 5 hours, time that we've streamed together. That's the only time there's ever really been anybody in there. It was pretty neat.
Thanks, Dave.
They followed me because when you were, I was done actually. So
Yeah, it was cool.
So Dave, you had a story you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I didn't send it to Steve-O. It's kind of like a follow-up.
A follow-up, okay.
You know, we talked about the genetic testing, you know, because everybody wants to know who Uncle Remus is and how you're related to him, you know, whether it's far away or close or whatever. Well, the headline in this Gizmodo article, which was posted yesterday, ancestry sites could soon expose nearly anyone's identity, researchers say. Now, the premise is it's based on the Golden State Killer thing, how it walks you through a little bit how they did that in here, and the math is a little beyond me, to be fair. So, as opposed to not reading it, they've got one of these headlines, which I will read. It says, the researchers say it will take only about 2% of an adult population having their DNA profiled in a database before it becomes theoretically possible to trace any person's distant relatives and therefore to uncover their identity. So basically they're saying with a thumbnail view of the genetic population as a you know, as a sampling, they would be able to extrapolate enough to get anybody's identity.
Yeah, here we go.
Wow.
Is that not creepy? Now, I would put the article up and show you. It's very technical. A lot of the stuff that it talks about, it describes how the Golden State Killer, how they traced it back from a sister to a brother and an uncle, and then they narrowed it down and it had enough to get a sampling from him. But it's pretty scary, and it is a kind of a long article, and so it's a bit dry. So I didn't want to read it, but that is a particularly chilling bite there of I can't. I mean, well, you might as well do it now.
So it's kind of like playing Sudoku on hard.
Yeah,
you know,
I guess
you only got 2% of the numbers, but you're still able to get it. Still able to solve the puzzle.
Yeah. I mean,
is this going to ruin Maury now? Like, are we going to know who the baby's daddy is before they even take the test?
Before they even have sex?
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody's going to be surprised by anything anymore.
Poor Maury. He's just going to have teens who are out of control on his show now. Does he still have a show?
I don't know. Who watches TV anymore?
I do.
Like TV?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's all DVR.
You don't watch real-time TV.
Oh no.
Yeah, because who's
You walk in the afternoon and turn on Maury Povich.
That's not true. That's not true. I mean, but I watch. I mean, there's a handful of channels: military, history, science, and local news. Done.
Well, coming up, today on Maury Povich is my husband or his stepbrother the dad?
Yep. There you go.
So there you go.
Maury.
There you go.
Asking the hard questions.
Yeah, I was thinking more like the dangers of. We talked about the AI future and the problems with that. Combining something like this with drones out, you know, identifying people and seeking people out and connecting all the dots, and you know, you're getting into Skynet territory there, definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, with the size of drones being, can you imagine the collector mosquitoes? They just send out the mosquitoes to collect genetic data from people. Little camera takes a picture of your face, grabs a swab. You just think it's a fucking mosquito bite again. But no.
It's like
your contribution to the genetic pool.
But what if you smack it in time?
Doesn't matter. It's uploaded.
There's too many of them. There's too many. It's like when me and my dad would be out in the woods when I was a kid, and there'd be so many mosquitoes. He'd say, "Oh man, the mosquito's about to fly, about to carry you off and fly away." That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna carry you off, fly away.
There's enough of them, man. It's attrition. They don't care.
Be cool.
One takes the picture. One takes the sample. One dies.
Did you think You guys think Steve-O's run away from the car and then run back to the car thing would work?
I don't know. I think with robot mosquitoes, they would be onto him.
No.
With the AI, they would go, this guy's going to run away and try to draw us away.
I've seen this trick. I listened to the show.
We've had a mosquito in his ear the whole time.
We downloaded the entire internet. You think we don't know?
Yeah.
I think that if Steve-O heard it buzzing in time, he could get away because the method is pretty foolproof.
Yeah. You hear one. When you hear one, you run away from the car and then you run back.
You walk away from the car.
Foolproof.
Well, I mean...
Making a point.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It's foolproof because if you were a bystander and saw this, it would be proof that they are fools.
This guy just walked away from his car and then ran back.
And he's waving his hands like a crazy person. The fuck's up with that?
And then he got in his car and rolled up the windows and sat in one position really still with one index finger over his mouth saying, shh.
It's a process.
And then after like 15 seconds, he starts doing this.
Smacking the windows.
I just hope they call him Little Jeff Goldblum's Jurassic Park.
The little, the mosquitoes, they're all named Goldblum.
The Goldblums are all after me, and then when you do this run away from the car and then run into the car trick, it's just a bunch of Jeff Goldblum voices. Hey, let us in.
Yeah, digging up dinosaurs, huh?
Finds a way. It's just a chorus of laughter.
Impersonation.
Yeah, it's not good at Jeff Goldblum impersonation.
All right, well, that was my bit. I mean, that was it. It was just the article. They're going to get your genetic data. It's too late. 2%.
It's too late.
There's a law that's going to take into effect that's going to control what the law enforcement can do, by the way. But it doesn't come into effect until 2019. So we got 2 years for them to get the rest of their sampling.
2 years between now and 2019?
Well, no, when the law was passed, it had a sunset clause for 2019.
Oh.
So from 2017 to 2019. After 2019, they're gonna tighten the reins a little bit for how the law enforcement can get to the information, and but all they got 2 years to get to 2% of the population, and they're done.
You're going to see a lot of Ancestry and 23andMe kits being pushed around Christmas. Like, just buy it for your relative. Tell them everything.
They'll have one of those like vending machines in the shopping malls like they do with Proactive now. They'll have those kits.
Not a bad idea.
Spit in the jar, put it in the container. We'll let you know in a few weeks.
They'll sell it to all the Democrats in as far as, are you worried about Kavanaugh in your life? Let's track this DNA now, just in case.
You might have blacked out and been Kavanaugh'd. You don't know.
Why not hack the system and show everybody who's taken one of those tests how far they are genetically from being related to Donald Trump?
Yeah, that's the pitch. Yeah.
What if you were Trump's long lost cousin? How fucking excited would you be? I'd be like, oh shit.
He ain't gonna give you none of that money.
You're not putting on the little suit.
What do you guys? We've not really talked about it at all, and I was talking with somebody else about it. How I really didn't want to talk about it, but then we were talking about it earlier, and we were everybody seemed to want to talk about it.
We've got things to say, so why not?
I guess we have things to say.
I don't know that I got anything to say, but
I'm not sure how much I know. I did see a decent amount of that hearing where I like beer. I like beer. Don't you like beer? I remember that, but I don't.
I watched the Saturday Night Live sketch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can give my quick rundown of it. I just from what I've seen, from what I heard about the pool of potential picks for this seat, Kavanaugh was kind of in the middle. He wasn't the best choice. Yeah. Well, I'm not talking about like best or worse. I just mean as far as left or right. He's not a hard right wing person. Like he's not. Which Trump isn't either. People keep trying to paint Trump as like ultra right wing. He's really not.
No.
He's like a Democrat from 20 years ago, really.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he was picked kind of from the middle of that list, and he has a lot of experience. And he worked for the previous Justice, Kennedy, that was stepping down. And Kennedy gave him his recommendation. And I mean, from what I've seen, his judicial record is really good. And it basically came down to it was all just a political. It was a political fight.
Smear campaign.
Well, yeah, it was a smear campaign because the Democrats wanted to try to delay this until November because they wanted to get more seats in the Senate. They want to pick up seats so then they could hopefully keep putting somebody else in the Supreme Court for another to hopefully have the presidency.
Uh-huh.
That was the whole thing because they had already this Blasey Ford thing. They had already had it for like a month.
What is that? Blasey Ford? What is that?
Christine Blasey Ford is the woman that came forward with.
Oh, okay, with the accusation.
In high school, yeah. So they had already had this, and it was coming down to the wire, and then they brought it out so they could delay the thing.
Yeah, the timeline is really bad on their part.
Really. It's really hard to actually believe that you give a shit when you have this information and you just hold it in your back pocket and wait for a good political opportunity to bring it out. Like, do you actually care about what happened to her, possibly?
I think they do, generally, but I think it was written on a slip of paper. What do I know? But, it was written on a slip of paper as the nuclear option. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do think that. I don't, as much as they go, well, we don't know, we didn't do that. Come on, you had it. It's all that information, and now you're kind of whitewashing why I didn't, and it was leaked, but I didn't do it. Well, somebody else did it. Well, I don't know who it was, and either way, I mean that poor lady was a pawn, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, she's made like $1 million on Indiegogo now, so I wouldn't feel too bad for her.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, she made this claim that this happened in some point in high school in like 1982, and everybody that she named as possible, that could corroborate it, including her best friend, everybody said they didn't know anything about it. Her best friend.
Yeah, it happened too long ago. I mean, who's going to remember?
Her best friend that she said was, I think she said was there, said she didn't even know Kavanaugh. She didn't even know who he was. And so there was just no evidence for anything that she said. And not only that, like Kavanaugh had one of the things because he talked about it in his statement later on, how his dad had this thing about keeping calendars and
I'm just laughing about the Saturday Night Live thing. Calendars on there.
Saturday Night Live irritates me. I don't ever watch it anymore, but just the fact that it's just funny that you come out with a random claim, whether she believes it's true or not. Let's say it happened, but this claim is made that this happened, and then it just happened to be at a guy that has literally been keeping a record of every day of his life since he was 13 years old. And then she said it happened in, it was like, it's supposed to be in the summer on a weekend from like 82, 83 or 80, somewhere in there. And
he's got every weekend documented.
Okay, well, this weekend was taken up. Was on this trip and this one. Okay, so what about, here's one day where I went to a party. Was it this day?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it wasn't that day. So, and just everybody now, just the madness over this, there was no evidence to corroborate anything that she said. There was no credibility in it.
But if an accusation is brought against someone that you already don't like, then it must be true.
Well, apparently, literally now.
That is, yeah. I mean, that's how it works, man.
If
like,
you're like cool with Kavanaugh being a Supreme Court judge, then you actually are a rape supporter.
Right.
Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Those claims being made.
That is. I mean, I've listened to a lot of stuff during this and after, and I have to say, and I've got the satellite thing on the radio, so I get the I'll turn to Fox and I'll listen to Fox and see what Fox is saying about it.
Yeah.
Then I'll switch over and turn to CNN.
Right.
And I listen to CNN.
That's what he does.
And then I'll go to Bloomberg because I have all of these options just to see how this conversation is going. And, you know, I'm in a very unique position. I have daughters. I have a wife. And I am sensitive to something happening to them. And of all the crimes that could be done against them, if that were to happen and I knew who the person was, I am most likely going to jail. I'll try to control myself, but, you know, so I'm a little worried about that. But even though this news, that is what I'm, you know, when you're leaning far left, you know, all the mouthpieces on that channel will say what you're saying. You're basically, if you like Kavanaugh, then you're okay with violence against women. And that's not the case at all. And I
prove that there has been violence against women, and then we can talk about those kinds of...
I mean, does she believe, and you know, then they make a big deal where she says she's 100%. She's certain it's him. So, okay.
Okay, good. Prove it.
It doesn't mean...
Well, why the fuck did you wait so long to bring it up?
Is because she said that, with beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's him. Then...
Well, she said beyond a shadow of a doubt, so...
Yeah, 100%, it's him. So...
I'm 1,000% sure, Maury.
And if you go back and you look, and I understand victim shaming is bad, and the victim gets a hard rap. We all watch Special Victims Unit. We hate that, and we're all aware of it. And we know it happens. But I mean, you can't. They're still innocent until proven guilty. And eyewitness accounts are discredited all the time.
Yeah, they're terrible. They're the worst piece of evidence.
What kind of car were they in? I don't know. It was cream, white, but I'm certain it was a light color.
Oh, sorry, it was black.
But either way, I mean, I know it was light, but it was hard to see. And you know, she says, oh, it 100%. There are people currently in prison based on poor eyewitness accounts. And if it wasn't for, what's the project with the DNA? Like we talked about.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, come on. It's a project that's designed to actually...
Well, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. I'm sure relations. There are, you know, there are several organizations, but there's one particular project, and the word is in its name, that gets people released from jail.
Innocence Project.
Could have sworn, and well, no, it wasn't him. And it doesn't mean she's stupid. It doesn't mean she's, you know.
Doesn't mean she's lying. She may believe it.
I mean, well, right, and even if, what if he was in the room, which is still not good, but she remembers his face, but it was the other guy. And the reason the other guy doesn't want to say anything is because...
Because why would he?
Well, why would he? He's the guy doing an actual thing. And he's like, well, they're kind of blaming him, but I was the one doing it. I mean, I don't know any of this stuff. I'm making all of that up. The important point is you are innocent until proven guilty. And
that's the thing, yeah.
You just got to be. And I'm not saying women are wrong. And I hope it never happens to anybody. Violence against women, bad. Violence against anyone is bad.
You just think about flipping it around to a presumption of guilt. And there are judicial systems like that. I don't know if there currently are. There probably is. But there have been in the past where you presume guilty and you have to prove your innocence. Think about trying to prove a negative, especially from 35 years ago. Well, he did this to me, and here's a claim, and even with his calendars, you know, it's like, well, what were you doing on that one afternoon with that party? Well, I don't remember. Prove you didn't do it. What can you say?
Yeah,
there's nothing you can say.
If somebody came up to me and told me that I did something 35 years ago, like, how the fuck can you prove it? And that's the thing. That's the problem I have with all of this stuff now, the movement, the Me Too movement. It's great. It should be happening. Things like that should not be happening. People should not be getting sexually assaulted and taken advantage of. But it just all of a sudden everybody has a voice and everybody is believed immediately. You can accuse anybody of anything because you have to have proof. You have to be able to prove that. And granted, his calendars don't prove anything either. That could have been something that he developed a team to fabricate, and as soon as they possibly could, I've done this my entire life. Look, here's my calendars. But I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying it's 35 years ago. How is he going to remember that night? How is he? I can't remember a night from 5 years ago.
Alcohol doesn't even have to be involved. I mean, you're asking me, are you blackout drunk? Have you ever? Well, yes, I actually have been. But, I mean, I'm not going to remember it because I was blackout drunk. I'm not going to remember it because it happened 35 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah. And if he did remember it, he'd remember it, don't you think? If he knew that he did it, don't you think he would remember it?
Yeah, but he still wouldn't. It's not like he would say anything.
But, well, I don't know. I tend to lean towards the believing that people are just being accused because it's the moment of opportunity.
It's a cash grab.
I mean, this was clearly well. It doesn't mean she brought forth the accusation for political reasons, but when correct. The Democrats brought it forth, they definitely timed it.
She did it. She timed it. That it makes her even more innocent, as far as I'm concerned. As far as the time frame goes,
she had wrote that letter
when he was just on a list. Yeah. He wasn't even a choice. So as far as I'm concerned, that woman's just been run through the ringer, and I feel really bad. And yeah, if she's doing that on Indigo, that's fine, great. Maybe that's going to make her life better. I'm not sure why people are giving money. Maybe she's got to pay those high-paid Democratic attorneys. I don't know. I'm not Democratic, and I'm not Republican. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure where I am. I'm probably a Republican.
Yeah. There's an episode of Seinfeld where Jerry remembers this girl from like college or high school, and he's like, I remember specifically the day the library book, he was supposed to return a library book. He's like, she was wearing a green dress or an orange dress, and this is the way her hair looked, and this is what happened exactly specifically on this day. And then he runs into her, and she's like, yeah, I was wearing a blue dress. Like, he remembers it specifically one way, and it happened a different way. It's just the way people's memories work.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to end up having all kinds of people come up with alter egos to describe the things that they did in the past, because we've all done stupid shit.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, if you want to be ahead of the game of, like, a majority of the population, realize that your memory is... It's just about useless.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a very good tool.
You can't trust it as 100% fact.
And especially when you when something is happening that, you know, this, like, adrenaline's pumping, or, you know, that something that has you excited and you haven't told yourself to try to take any notes. It's just, it's happening, you're reacting, and then later on you try to go back and remember. Now, I think it's possible, like, say you're witnessing a robbery. You can say, okay, I need to remember as many details as possible and write them down. You might be able to get the license plate or the color of the car, and you can take this stuff down. But if you haven't made a sorted effort to remember things, and you're just trying to pick out details from a memory, it's hopeless.
Yeah.
You know?
And you talk about, like, I mean, that presumption of innocence. Like, I've told that story. I won't go through it in detail here, but just when I had that traffic ticket, and they straight up had a video of a car that was the exact same make, model. It looked exactly like my car. Mm-hmm. And literally, because the cops lost sight of that car for, it was only like a minute or two.
Yeah.
The fact that they lost sight of it and then found me. I mean, those cops had every reason to believe that was me.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Told them that you did good work. You were right to give me. They were right to give me a ticket, but from everything they could see. But the judge still said it's possible that it was somebody else, and
especially considering you had a back seat full of newspapers.
Yeah, I mean, there was enough there. But I just mean, when you just talk about, like, trying to, like, if it was flipped around and I had to to go in and prove that definitely wasn't me. There's still no way, because I could have just said, "Oh, I was starting my paper route and I just zipped in and zipped out, and then I said I had been doing this for an hour." You know what I mean? Like I could have just gone the other end and pretended I had done all that. You know, it's like to be able to actually prove that car wasn't me. I mean, it looked exactly like my car. I mean, if it was flipped around, I definitely would have paid that ticket.
Right, and it's not up to the police that are there in the moment to try to make that determination. They get as close as they can, and then they cite the person that they think should be cited, and then it's up to the courts to figure out the rest. So yeah, they totally did what they should have done.
Yeah, when I was arguing with them, they finally just got pissed and said, tell the judge."
Yeah.
You know, they're like, "Here's the ticket, tell the judge."
Yeah.
You know?
That's how you want to do those things. Don't argue with the officer at the scene. Just be polite, you know, do everything right, and then fight it in court. Don't admit fault either.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Oh, I've certain situations, I've gotten out of tickets by just being like, "Yeah, you got me." Well, I told you guys about when I passed that school bus a few weeks back, but didn't realize that because I was on the other side of the highway. It's a 4-lane with a suicide. Did I tell you guys? I talk about it on the podcast.
I think so.
I was pulling out of a hotel. I was going north, and as soon as I pulled out, I see there's a school bus that is stopped at a bus stop on A1A, but they're on the southbound side all the way over. And I pulled out, and I actually was kind of getting on it because I noticed there were cars coming, but I turned around. I was like, "Oh, shit, there's a school bus." So I let off. I'm only going like 25 at this point, or maybe 30. And then I see it, and I kind of tap the brakes, and I'm like, I don't think I have to stop. So I just kind of went by, and then there was a cop sitting at the bus stop. I didn't notice. It all happened so fast. And he pulls out behind me, and I don't even go over 30. I'm like, well, he's going to pull me. I'll just let him do his thing. He's got to run my plate before he actually flips the lights on. And then once I got pulled over and he came up, I just said, "I'm sorry, sir, you got me." Yeah, and then I explained, honestly, I wasn't sure. You know, I didn't know if I needed to stop, but you could tell I went by slowly. But when you pulled out, I was like, okay, well, there's my answer. And I told him, well, at work, actually, some of the drivers were talking. Well, do we stop? It's is this considered a divided highway? How does that work? And he said, well, actually, the law is there has to be a median divider that's at least 4 inches tall. Wow. to be constituted as a divided highway. And in that case, you don't have to stop if you're on the opposite side of the road.
So if there's a wall or fence in the grass,
if those little curbs that you'll see dividing the lanes to maybe guide you into a turning lane or something, like usually around here they're mostly around the stoplights, like around Ron John and stuff. It's just short little 4-inch curb
that you can't jump over.
That you wouldn't. I mean, you could drive over, but the kids can't jump over.
Can't jump over. That's why it's okay. You can keep driving on by.
Yeah, but this section of the road, it was just a suicide lane in the middle. But yeah, he told me that, and then they went back to the car and talked forever. I was sure I was getting the ticket, but he came back. He's like, "Well, I could tell you're being honest, and obviously you knew what you did, and I appreciate that. So I'm just going to give you a warning." And now you know. I said, "Yeah, hey, it was not a complete disregard of the law. I honestly didn't know." And he said, "All right, have a good day." Nice. So, in some instances, admitting fault, if it's something minor like that, then I think
something minor like that, like even speeding too. Like if you're under 10 miles an hour, cops can still pull you over and say, "Hey, I clocked you doing this." And you're like, "Oh, officer, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have been going that fast."
I sneezed.
But mainly like turning off the car, turning on the dome light, taking your keys out, putting them on the dashboard, putting your hands at 10 and 2, windows down, smile. Because no one's actually happy to see a cop just like, "Hey, how you doing?" Do something like that. Put the cop at ease, because every cop doesn't know if their traffic stop's going to be their last.
Greet them with enthusiasm.
"Hey, sir, how you doing? I was hoping to see you today."
Hey,
top of the morning.
Looking sharp in that black Darth Vader-like uniform.
Oh, I bet it gets hot out here.
Also, try to seem as condescending as possible.
You know why you pulled me over.
You know what you're doing here today.
I thought about being a cop, but I know y'all don't get paid shit, man.
Yeah. It's always a good thing the minute you know, instead of greeting him, say, "What's your badge number?" Yeah, it all goes off really. Yeah, recording them too while they come up with the camera on them. Yeah, they go.
Yeah. I got you.
What you?
I think that'd just be a good time to spin your dash cam around.
Yeah.
Start yelling at them about being a sovereign citizen. You have freedom of travel.
I pay my taxes.
I don't
Sir,
need
I'm
a
traveling.
driver's license.
I pay your salary.
Oh yeah, what was that video? It was like saying that they don't constitutionally you don't actually have to have a driver's license, and then the cop's like, "You're on public roads. Yes, you do." He's like, "No, I'll show you in the Constitution."
Yeah, it's one of those things
it's in
where
the Constitution.
The Constitution gives you freedom of travel, and then I don't forget exactly how it's worded,
but not on public roads.
But there's a million laws that aren't in the Constitution. They just stack on top of it, so it's just like,
yeah, and I'm not even sure.
Die on that hill.
Apparently, there's stuff in that document that's unconstitutional. I didn't know. I mean, I was actually having a conversation with Jerry Redacted about something on there. I said, "Hey, did you know something about?" Yeah, it's illegal. Okay, I didn't know that.
Which document are we talking about?
We're talking about the Constitution.
Oh, that document.
Because we're talking about something that we were going to work on a project together, and I said something about government, and I said, the Department of Energy. Oh, Department of Energy. Yeah, that's unconstitutional. That's news to me.
To even have a Department of Energy? I don't know. I'm anxious to hear this project. I want you guys to get going because I want to hear y'all talk about this shit. Because I don't know, like Department of Energy is illegal. What?
Yeah, and apparently the Department of Agriculture too. I don't know.
What is this going to be? Is this like grumpy old conspiracy?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
No, I haven't. It's going to be part of my crosstalk series.
Right,
I'm only going to do it once a month.
You guys should bring up window tint laws too, because there was a little bit of a back and forth on some posts with Jerry, and I got in on it a little bit. And he's like he was saying it's illegal to have laws about how dark your tint can be, and I just stepped in. I was the reason that I've always heard was so that the officer could see in the car as he's approaching. He knows if he's in some kind of danger or something. And then he disagreed, and I don't want to speak for him or try to represent his opinion, but back and forth on that. I would love to hear you guys discuss.
Yeah, no, it's just gonna know your government thing. I'm listening to a book, and I've listened to some things, and this Kavanaugh hearing has brought this up a little bit to me. And, I think most Americans, and I know that's a bit broad, and I'm going out there by saying that.
Well, I don't feel this way, Dave.
Well,
I'm an American.
Try to speak for me, sir.
I can't believe you say most. It does not include me.
Numerous.
A significant cross-section of our demographic in this.
Are you calling me insignificant?
You got a problem with the cross? You don't love Jesus?
Okay, Dave, sorry.
I think you're woefully ignorant about your government. I just think, and I think the longer that we go and the older that the school books get in school and don't get replaced and aren't updated, and I think we have gone far away and we just don't know what's in there. I mean, I look back and I remember, high school civics and U.S. government, and there's even a book. There was even a class in junior high that we had to take to teach about Tennessee. We were talking about that last week,
mm-hmm.
and so
you guys just watch the Heartland all the time in that series.
No, it was the Tennessee Blue Book, and it was a whole book about Tennessee and the history of Tennessee. But I digress. Jerry was just saying something, and I'm curious about why that's illegal.
Why they need to update school books. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. They were talking about how there's certain people that they may be voting for because of their promises to put more money into education. I'm like, they wouldn't need to put so much more money into education if they quit buying all these kids their own personal laptops and iPads and shit. That's so much money. It's so much money to provide every student with their own electronic device. I did just fine with the books that I had. And they pointed out to me that clearly they're out of date. Clearly I've been out of high school for 10 years, 11 years. And so there's 10 and 11 years right there of history that's not in those books for sure.
But science books are probably wildly out of date.
Science doesn't change. It's always been there. It's always been the truth. It's just it doesn't change.
I think one of the worst things was there was a history or a local or a government book, and that's here in our school system, still being used, that refers to Obama as a senator.
Wow.
It is that out of date. And that's currently being used.
And that would have to be like 12, no, let's see, 10 years, at least 10 years old. I mean, to go back before he won.
The other side of that is, well, it costs money to get all these new books.
Yeah, so the thing to me would be, obviously there's, especially these science books, you have people, history books, science books, a group of scholars are putting these together, writing these out, which obviously there's a cost there, but it's like textbooks are a racket. Like when I was going to Pellissippi Community College here a few years ago, you would have one book that was, an inch thick would be like $80. Mm-hmm. It was crazy. Like the markups on that shit was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So to me, the thing would be to have kids have Kindles or iPads, and then you're just downloading this stuff.
Yeah, you update it. I mean, then you don't even have to download it.
Need to access.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you're
a cloud. Yeah.
You're paying a subscription for a service per number of students. Basically, you're licensing the use of some site that's accurate.
The only thing I'm concerned with in this whole conversation is, are they holding the kids' parents accountable for damages to those things? That's the thing, for some reason, that just keeps popping into my head, is you're giving these fucking stupid-ass 13, 14, 15-year-old kids an expensive piece of equipment to take care of, and it's not theirs. It doesn't belong to them. So they're not going to take care of it.
You tell me to replace a book that's 20 years old because they ripped the cover off of it?
I think she's talking about the iPads and stuff.
Yeah, I'm talking about the devices, not the books.
I mean, but I would say that kids nowadays are kind of used to carrying really expensive things around with them. They all have.
Well, so am I, but I drop my shit 3 times a day.
Yeah, I do. You see, children with iPads, and I think okay, so if you break your iPad, you don't get a replacement. I would say, make that a rule, and then you're the kid that doesn't have his iPad because he broke it.
You got to go to the library in the school or something.
I happen to find myself in a local elementary school right before school started this year, and in the office they had several stacks of iPads, and they were all in otter boxes.
There you go.
I distributed them to the students yet. Or the classrooms, they were kind of taking inventory, but it was along the whole wall just had a bunch of little iPads and otter boxes.
Otter boxes are expensive as hell too.
Well, I mean,
yeah, but it might actually all come out, it might take a couple years, but to actually be cheaper than having textbooks.
Maybe.
And the OtterBox is still the OtterBox. Even if you break the screen on the iPad, you still have the OtterBox.
Break the screen on the OtterBox.
Fucking OtterBox is just some nice case.
Yeah, it's just an
It's supposed to be like a life-proof case, but they don't call it that.
Maybe they hire an Apple genius to just work in the school and fix broken screens.
Maybe.
Sure.
Do that.
That's a way to do it.
Just have an Apple store. It's like a closet. It's a really bright white closet with the guys in it.
Yeah.
One table.
But all the walls are glass, of course.
Yeah.
It's got a blue shirt on, glasses, a cardigan.
Why don't we worry about putting a guy in here? Why don't we just have iSchools?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about this situation that has me so bitter, but I hate children with technology. I don't know why I hate it so much. I really do.
Because we weren't allowed to have it.
Well, it's not that. I was allowed to have stuff. My family got a computer when I was in, elementary school.
But it stayed in the living room.
Yes, it was a computer until I was 18.
Well, but the point is, like, I don't deal with change very well, and I think that the way that I was raised, like, basically in a nutshell, was pretty top notch. I had.
Wait a minute, this is the same place that we had. Wait, we've heard many stories from you.
Run away and put the goldfish in the suitcase.
Did you blame something on somebody else? I mean, we have been here for every one of your stories, girl. We know both sides of it.
And look at me now. Now I could look back on all that stuff and realize what a dumbass douchebag I was. But see, that's the thing, though, is I learned from all that shit. I learned from all of it. I watched Boy Meets World. I watched Step by Step and fucking Growing Pains. I watched all those shows, and I learned all kinds of shit about morals. And the kids these days are watching fucking Baby Shark on repeat on their fucking stupid-ass wrist
You
TVs.
couldn't go trick-or-treating.
You
couldn't go trick-or-treating, bro.
Right, and guess what? I got cavities now.
Got cavities from these kids singing Baby Shark. Somebody was singing that at work today.
I feel like kids are just going to turn into mindless fucking jellyfish that just roam around the earth with all the information they could ever need at their fingertips. Their brains are just going to stop working.
Listen, I mean, going in that direction, everybody knows I agree with that. So
I think
we've stopped learning things in this age. We've stopped memorizing things because we need to know. We just need to remember how to access it.
Yeah, true. That's very true. I try to memorize things, though.
This is what I tell people that deliver pizzas, new people. I said, do not use your GPS. Don't fucking use it. I say the same thing. I tell them.
You'll never learn where you're going.
Not only they've done I think I might have mentioned this way back. There was a study done that people that use GPS, they basically lose their sense of direction. Like, it kind of goes away because they're not operating whatever part of that brain, those connections to orient themselves and figure out where they're going, and they just eventually they can't do it. They have trouble reading maps. I read a map and I go, or I just remember it. But
when I have found myself in a strange area where I've had to use my GPS to get to a destination because I'm not familiar with the area, I find that the best thing is it just tells me the correct road I'm on. That's more helpful than, because so many roads don't have street signs, and you go, well, where the fuck am I?
Right.
And there's just no street sign. But on the very bottom of that screen, it says, you're on Saba Shaba Shaba Shaba. And you go, oh, okay.
I don't know if it's from just past experience, but when I first got here, I used GPS on almost every delivery. But within a month or two, I had it down.
I never use it.
But it might be because I know how to read a map and I can reference a map quickly and then not need the GPS because I know where this is, and so I know where this is in relation to that. But I think most people that is the case. They rely on the GPS. I mean, if it's your hometown and you've lived there a long time, maybe not, right? I mean, you know how to get to Walmart. That's really all you need,
Yeah, I just need to know the main roads, and then you can build from there. But
I think there might be something more than just simply people that use GPS never learn their area. There's something else. There may be an interest, there's a lack of interest in learning their area.
No, it's like your brain is not, and I've noticed this. I've felt it. If you go on a trip to like a new place you haven't been, you're driving into town and you're using your GPS to navigate around.
Right.
You're not paying attention like you have to. Like, if I need to get back to a hotel, if you're not paying attention to those things, if you're just following the directions, you're not remembering where you have to go. If you have to think about it and remember it and say, okay, I'm here. If we're going down here, I have to actually be consciously thinking about, okay, we made a left here, and then we did this, and then to get back, I have to do this. But if you're following the GPS, you're just following turn here, and you're not engaging that at all. You're just going, and then you're coming back.
Maybe it's like using turn-by-turn directions versus just looking at the top-down view of the map, so you can actually get a picture of the layout. Like when we were in Key West, just for a couple days, I was able to kind of see the layout. Oh, well, this highway, this splits off and goes around the north side, and then this one goes around the south side, and Duval Street goes straight up the middle, and kind of piece that together just in a couple days. But that's because when I use Google Maps, if I am driving somewhere, then I will use the turn by turn. But if I'm just like, oh, where am I at? Oh, look at the top down. I'm not using turn by turn. I'm just look at the map. That's more helpful to me than turn by turn, because like you said, it doesn't give you anything. It doesn't give you any kind of frame of reference. It's like there's a turn coming up, make that turn, and you never get to see the lay of the land.
It's incredibly beneficial to come back another way as opposed to, go one way and come back a different way. You learn a lot.
Yeah.
I like to use my GPS, but listen to it. That's the thing I've been trying to do lately is just listen to it. And then since I'm not looking at the phone, I'm just looking straight ahead and listening to what they're saying. Then I can look for other things too, like landmarks. And okay, so I passed mile marker 44 and I can remember that because it's 2 4s. Well, that's stupid, but that's just I'm trying to.
That's how your brain works. I mean,
yeah. And then I like to, if I know there's somewhere that I'm going to be traveling, not too often, but often enough, I'll try to use my GPS one time and pay attention to where I'm turning and where I'm going. So it's like looking at the map before leaving for a delivery and mapping out, well, here I'm going to turn here, going to turn here, going to turn here. But you just listen to it one time and then try to retain that for every other time after. I don't think that's a bad usage of a GPS.
I think you can't build a house with just a hammer.
There we go.
Don't tell me what I can't do.
There we go.
All right.
Don't need to say anything else.
That was a John Locke quote from Lost.
Yeah,
Even though this is a conversation based on getting away from the reliance on technology, Apple Watch has a fun feature if you are making the horrible decision of using Apple Maps as your GPS. The watch will actually tap you on the wrist when your turn's coming up to have you pay attention, and then it'll just go ta-ta-ta-ta when you're supposed to actually be turning.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's going to be a slap in the face eventually.
That's like
it's just going to be electric shock.
That's like that cyborg conversation.
Yeah, that's creepy.
Elon Musk and Joe Rogan had. Yeah.
That I think Elon's vision of us assimilating with computers is probably the best way to go, because otherwise it's computers against us, or it's computers becoming military weapons right off the bat, and there's no way normal humans. Because if robots take over, Constitution's out the window. We don't have any way to fight the robots.
It's illegal. It's illegal.
You can't have tinted windows on that drone.
Not anymore.
It's too dark. I got to be able to see inside that drone.
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Senator Obama.
Haven't heard a good
Thanks, Senator Obama.
for a while. It's been a good while.
Does anybody want to hear about a rocket failure?
I was about to ask you about it.
Okay, so there was a rocket failure on whatever. Yes, was it Thursday? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Thursday morning. Yesterday morning.
Next rocket.
No, this was a Russian Soyuz rocket. Just for reference for you guys, I'll show you this picture. This is what it looks like. This has been in production since like the 60s. Like this rocket is it's actually one of the most reliable rockets that is in existence. But it fucked up Thursday morning, and luckily the astronauts were able to make it down safe because the abort system worked. It's unclear so far what happened. I'm going to show you this little thing. You may have seen this before. This is called the Korolev cross. It's when those 4 boosters they separate, and they're supposed to come off really symmetrically like that, and it's actually a really cool looking thing. This particular launch, they didn't have this onboard camera like that, but from the ground you could see that those boosters did not come off symmetrically like that. I was watching a video by Scott Manley. He's just a guy that kind of everybody goes to for space news nowadays. And And he's really good at explaining things in a very simple way so you can understand. But what it sounds like, or what he was saying is that there's a theory going around right now that when these boosters went to separate, something went wrong, and one or two or maybe more of these boosters kind of scraped down the side of the core booster and possibly ruptured the walls of the rocket and possibly damaged the engines on the way. And there was a major malfunction, and the rocket did it automatically. It's like they saw a light on a display, and then they were aborting, and they took off, and they experienced like 6-7 Gs at least when the capsule was escaping away. And I'm assuming there was an explosion. Like, it's so hard to see from the footage, but it looks like the rocket's going, you see the four boosters separate, and then it looks like the rocket does one of these, because it looks like there's exhaust being shot out sideways, and then you also can kind of make out that the capsule is escaping away. And so they came back in on a ballistic return, which means they basically just used the energy that they had. They didn't try to correct or guide the capsule at all. It coasts up, and it actually did make it into space, and then it just follows this ballistic trajectory and then comes back down. And the way the capsule is made, it will orient itself in a heat shield first kind of way. And they came down, and apparently the rescue people were right there. They were only 500 kilometers downrange, and this was in an area where they already had people staged for something like this, which has never been needed in the past, but luckily they were there today, or that day. And the two astronauts, there's only two. Well, one is an astronaut, one's a cosmonaut, because the Russians are kind of dialing back their presence on the space station. The Russian space agency is not doing very well. They're really low on money. So they were only sending one, and we just already planned on just sending one. We already have two astronauts up there, and we were sending a third just to be there.
So it just came down with like a huge parachutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like it normally would if it was re-entering, if it was coming home from a normal mission. It took about, I think they said about 35 minutes from the time of the abort till the time that they actually touched down, and they were just fine. Of course, they went through normal, medical checkouts and everything, but you got videos and pictures. They look fine. Disappointed, I'm sure.
This get to go again. I heard on the news that they'll get to go again next. Sometime in 2019.
Okay, yeah. That's news to me. That's good, because this was supposed to be the American astronaut. This was his first trip into space, so he's got to be just devastated. But he gets another one, so that's good. I mean, they're not. It's not like, oh, your first attempt failed. You're not an astronaut anymore. That's not how it works. So I'm not surprised he's going to get his
sabotage.
Well, that's. Okay, so I think we talked about the hole in the space station back in August, where it became apparent that this was a drilled hole. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Do you remember?
Yeah, I was.
Let's see, hole on ISS. I can probably.
They were claiming it was a meteorite or something, but they're saying it was a drilled hole.
Yeah, listeners, we're changing to a different topic here. These are not related, or seemingly not related, but this is the hole. This part is supposed to be there. This is not, and you can see where the drill bit skipped along and kind of brushed up against this part here, and that is clearly a drilled hole. So it was either someone in the factory made a mistake. It looks like they were really trying hard to make that mistake, but I haven't heard anything else about that. So if there's an investigation ongoing, they haven't really updated anybody. So there is speculation that maybe someone in the factory. In fact, the head of Roscosmos, which is the Russian version of NASA, when that first happened, the hole in the Soyuz capsule, which that's a Soyuz capsule. That's not on the space. That is like the ride up to the space station and back. But the head of Roscosmos said, well, maybe it was sabotage on board the space station. So the people on board the space station are drilling holes in their only way to get home. So that was weird. But back to this failure.
There's a whole
sounds like a movie plot to me.
It is. It's very strange that one of the most reliable rockets in history had this happen. But you know that booster separation is a complicated thing. You know, you got 4 boosters separating at the same time. I guess the chances of something going wrong are a little higher just because there's 4 of them.
So who benefits from sabotaging the Russians?
Exactly.
Elon Musk,
Maybe
Senator Obama.
If we're gonna get into conspiracy theories, then the only thing I can think of right now would be that
Hillary Clinton.
That Russia is ill prepared to continue to pay to operate their portion of the space station, and maybe they want to see it decrewed because, and I don't necessarily believe that. That's just what I can come up with, but this is a real thing. If they go too long without having another Soyuz capsule sent up there, either with people or without, then the people on board have to come back. Because the Soyuz capsule has a 200-day lifespan. And I just found out today from listening to Scott Manley, the reason why, it's not just an arbitrary number just to be safe sort of thing. Some of the fuel that it uses to orient itself in space is actually hydrogen peroxide. And he kept using the word decompose, although it feels like decompose refers to like organic stuff, but I don't know. He kept saying decompose. It will decompose into water and oxygen, which is actually why they use hydrogen peroxide, because if there's a leak or something, it's safe for humans to be around. But after 200 days, it's decomposed enough that it's useless. So they have to. It's a hard date. Maybe they can extend it a little bit, but there's not a whole lot of wiggle room there. And if they get to the end of that line, then we have to decrew the space station for the first time since I think it was 2001 was when we first got people on board, and we have had people on board the space station ever since. Now, where this gets hairy is that the space station can operate autonomously in some respects, but there's also some other things that even if something goes wrong, they can kind of use computers, just like operating a rover or something. There's certain things that they can do from the ground, but there's other kinds of maintenance that they have to do spacewalks for. You can't. There's no other option if something breaks on the outside of the space station. We don't have little robots that can drive around out there and fix it. So you have to have people there. One thing that might spring to mind, because I've talked about it so much, is that SpaceX and Boeing are building their capsules to be able to send people to space from the U.S. again. And while that would be a good option if they were ready, but before they can ever put people on it, they have to do their demonstration missions. So each of them has to send up an empty capsule, dock with the space station, come back. They have to do a bunch of analysis, make sure everything's good before they ever put people on it. If they have to decrew the space station, they can't do those missions. Because you have to have
class if you want to grade the test.
Exactly. Now, they are built to dock themselves automatically, but they don't want to do that without anybody on board the space station monitoring it at all times.
Fucking with us. It's Putin. I knew it was the Russians. I knew it.
Yeah, hey, maybe. I mean, maybe they want out. I don't know. But all the public statements by NASA officials is we have faith in the Russian space program. We know that they're going to have a good investigation. NASA has their own investigation, and it's completely normal. There's no animosity between them and NASA's coming in and looking up our skirt or anything like that. That's expected. They're both going to conduct an investigation and determine when it's safe to fly. And if it turns out that it's just this booster disconnect system, they could be back to flying within a couple of months. They've already got a rocket and a capsule that are being prepared right now because they were already supposed to send up more people in December. So hopefully they can get all this fixed, but if January rolls around, that is the end of life for the Soyuz capsule that's up there now. That is the ride home for those people.
Okay, yeah.
And January is the earliest date planned for SpaceX to have their demonstration mission. Boeing's not until March, so that's pretty much out of the question. Although SpaceX has said that they're ready to go. They said this months ago. They're like, yeah, the capsule's in Florida. We're ready to go whenever NASA's ready. I don't know how true that is. There might still be other loose ends to tie up. But, maybe there's hope in that we can go ahead and do this demonstration mission while we know we've got people on board, get that out of the way before the end of the year, and then maybe they can speed up the next, the first crewed version of that.
So you said that they're not saying that they're trying to look up their skirts. Who is that? Who said that?
Well, nobody said that.
You were paraphrasing.
It was a NASA official. They were being asked if a reporter had asked. We realize that Russia is obviously going to do their investigation, but is NASA going to be privy to all that information? And then the guy explained, well, we're going to conduct our own investigation in tandem with Russia, and this is completely normal. This per all other failures that have ever been. I mean, there's been other failures just delivering cargo and stuff. I don't think on the Soyuz necessarily, or this version of it.
I've watched a lot of videos online, and I've learned that there is not a more evil organization than NASA.
Wow, Steve-O.
Listen, look into the moon hoax. Look into the flat Earth. You listen to those people talk about NASA, and it's like an underground satanic.
I know.
Hypocrisy. It is so awesome.
Yeah.
They talk about NASA.
Yeah, and well, I mean, I haven't met any officials, but everyone I've ever met that works for NASA is so bubblegum. They're just so
bubblegum.
They're bubblegum. They're so happy about space. They're just so excited about what they're doing. It's just
I run into a lot of people that work at NASA where I work, and they're all pretty cool. I mean,
That's
you ask
national. Yeah.
You ask them a question that they can answer without getting into trouble, they'll answer it, no problem. But
yeah.
They think they'll get into trouble. Like, I can't talk about that. Sorry.
Yeah.
National American Satanic Agency.
So, all right, here's my theory. Since we can list reasons why all of the obvious people would not have sabotaged that mission or whatever you would call it. What if it's just like a plain old-fashioned Batman villain type situation? What if there's some guy, the Penguin or some shit?
Yeah.
There's some guy that's really ugly and has no friends and has a lot of hatred in his heart.
I picture in like a guy like walking on his tippy toes, like sneaking up and like I don't know, clipping a wire somewhere, and then like
Tapping it with a hammer.
Yeah.
Like those spy dudes, you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the thing on the
Spy versus spy.
Spy versus spy.
Pointy
One of those
face.
spy guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So we should look into that.
I figure it's just some poor Russian guy he's like, meteorites came down and killed my goat. That's all. I'm going to put the Russian rocket.
What was that?
I think that was the goat.
I make the rocket blow up space.
I make the rocket blow up. That would show them not to bring meteors in my farm.
Now say it as Jeff Goldblum.
Life finds a way.
Well, does anybody have anything else they want to bring up before we get out of here?
Steve-O may already know this, but I've not heard him say anything about it tonight. Old Mr. Elon Musk filed himself a patent for Tesla Tequila.
Oh yeah.
What's that?
I assume it's going to be a tequila.
Oh,
he's
tequila. I didn't.
Tesla Tequila.
Tesla Tequila.
I was like, what the fuck is that? Oh, Tesla Tequila. One word. Tesla Tequila.
Tesla
Tesla
Tequila.
Tequila.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess he had made some joke a long time ago where he thought Tesla was going to go bankrupt, and he passed out. He was drinking, he passed out, and he woke up, and there was a bunch of Tesla Tequila bottles around him. And I guess he decided he's just going to, space travel, that's fun. Fixing LA traffic, that's fun. Electric car, that's fun. let's make tequila.
He doesn't seem to like drinking, so
Yeah, I thought he was more of a whiskey man. Maybe it's just because Tequila rolls off the tongue. Tesla whiskey. Well, Tesla whiskey. That just sounds like Tesla whiskey.
Yeah.
Tesla.
But he said, according to the patent, it's not something that he plans. It's not a patent that you file if you plan on using it right away. It's a patent you file if you're thinking about it and you just want to get your hands on it.
How do you patent tequila?
Is it just the name? Maybe. Are you sure it's a patent and not like a copyright or trademark thing?
The article I read kept saying patent.
Oh.
Well, that fucking agave squeezing process.
Has to be
greater than ever. It's just like
it's solar powered agave squeezers.
Put thousands of Mexicans out of jobs.
What you're actually buying is water, but you set it out in the sun and it turns into tequila.
The trick is it's just the Mexicans, and that's the solar powered agave harvesters. Actually, according to the article, he said he also filed for the same patent in Jamaica, so maybe he's making it in Jamaica or something.
Oh, that I don't know. It's all the sombreros got solar panels on them. So
solar powered sombreros.
Yeah, solar power. We got the solar panels on the sombrero.
That'll be the first picture of the robot uprising.
Sombrero, solar panel sombreros.
Well, there you go.
That's an episode title.
Yeah, I like that, Brad. I like bringing back the Thanks Obama because just everybody has so much Trump fatigue. I like this Thanks Obama.
It's funny because I was talking to somebody the other day and I was like, "Don't you miss George Bush? Wasn't he cool?"
He was just sort of the goofy murderer type. It was just kind of fun, a little dangerous.
Yeah, killed a little.
My dad says we got to get that oil.
He made up words. That was what I liked about him.
Shame on you.
Fool me twice. Can't get fooled again.
I mean, all he ever did was orchestrate the biggest attack on American soil ever.
Yeah.
Single-handedly.
Or at the very least, let it happen.
At the very least. I mean, he only set fire to Building 7.
Maybe he was the one with the drill.
I think it was Dick Cheney. Mad about his goats.
Mad he got caught shooting his friend hunting.
His friend apologized to him.
Yeah. He shot him in the ass and his friend apologized to him.
That is a brutal man.
Yeah.
I apologize to you because you shot me. That's how scared I am of you.
I was the day the show I missed 2 weeks ago. I was at this Aikido seminar in Asheville, and it was Asheville. The dojo is like very long and narrow, and the mats go all the way to the wall. So you gotta be real careful, not crack your skull on a wall when you're going down. But it was very crowded, and at one point, and my sensei was there too, and he was taking the class just like me. Somebody else was teaching, and at one point I get thrown, and then the sensei is next to me, and he does something, and he steps on me, and I just look up at him, and I immediately am like, "Sorry, sensei." I apologize to him for being stepped on.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's like so reflexive. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Don't you hate when you bump into people and you say sorry and you're like, why did I say sorry?
They bumped into me.
Scary. It's like last week, this lady stepped on my foot. I was wearing sandals, and it hurt bad. But she was really nice, and I didn't want her to feel bad. So I was like, no, it's fine, it's fine. I looked down. She took off my whole toenail.
Oh.
And I was apologetic to her because
running golf shoes?
I don't know. My whole toenail's gone.
Oh. Wait, but it's that stupid little one that doesn't matter anyway, right?
No, it is.
Is it really?
Matters, all right. Right now you can tell because my toenails are painted. They try to make an effort for that little stupid one to show up. It's just
like I promise, there's a nail there.
Yeah, but it's gone, and you can tell. You really can.
You're just painting the top of your skin. Yeah, your nail there. It's fine.
What the hell, bitch? You got meat grinder shoes on?
I don't know what it was. They looked like pretty normal shoes, but I didn't inspect the bottom of them.
Looks like you gotta start wearing steel-toed boots to Walmart like everybody else.
Yeah, like everybody else.
The last time I wore steel-toe boots, my foot got stepped on by a horse. Can you imagine how scary that is? For a horse to step on your steel toe and think that it's going to just slice your toes off?
Did the horse apologize?
No, I did.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
I would think that would make me happy that I had the steel-toe boots on.
No, they can bend it.
I mean, is it
Slice
still
your
that,
toes right
that
off.
risk better
Actually,
than
the
just crushing and
Steel toe
destroying
shoes are actually, there's a certain danger to them because
it?
if they land hard enough, that
Yeah.
steel will bend and take off your toes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
That's exactly
Best
what I'm
is
saying.
a nice composite long one.
Oh, I see.
Those are the good ones.
Okay.
Steel foot shoes.
Steel-toe shoes are death traps, and Christopher Columbus is still a hero in our elementary books.
As he should be.
As he should
That's
be.
why we just
What are
celebrated
those
his day.
Spaniards doing with all the gold anyway?
I said that to somebody the other day. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying
Did
to.
you?
That's what they're trying to get Columbus Day to
Yeah.
morph into is Indigenous Peoples
God
Day.
knows we need more shit to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
No, we need more holidays. I remember like a couple days ago, it was National Taco Day. It was National Woman's Best Friend Day. It was
Every
National-
other day somebody tells
Thursday
me
was the
it
National Day of the
Pepperoni
Woman.
Pizza Day. Like,
I don't care.
what'd you say, Dave?
Thursday was National Day of the Woman.
Becca
I
loves those.
didn't feel it.
Well, they're doing a great job spreading the word.
How do you greet somebody? Happy National Women's Day to you, woman who I've assumed the gender of
Right.
We should
without proper means.
you know, like you know how like around like Christmas or Thanksgiving or something, you know, like when you're delivering or I'm sure Brad at work, you probably say Merry Christmas to people and stuff like that. We should just like start like get a calendar that has all these just random holidays and know them all, and then every day just hit people with them. Happy mayonnaise sandwich day. Happy pepperoni pizza day.
National Mustard Day.
You're going to be that old guy that people run into at the dollar store that they try to avoid because they tell 15 jokes and you've heard all 15 of them, probably from the same guy.
From the same guy, yeah.
You turn into that guy, and you don't want to be that guy.
My grandfather's that guy, but he's really funny.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
He's convinced himself of it.
Yeah.
Usually grandfather jokes come around and they're funny. Grandfather's got to be old and crotchety enough, and it works.
Yeah, mine's not crotchety.
Well, turns out today, now that it is 12/29 where we are, is a holiday, and Becca, Dave, the girls will be happy to hear this. It's National No Bra Day.
Oh.
Becca
yes,
and
Becca and Dave. Becca and Dave, you'll be happy to know.
That's good to know, bro.
National No Bra Day.
It is also National M&M Day.
Which one?
There is a picture of a bunch of people cheersing with beers in their hands.
Cheers to beers.
Cheers to beers. Cheers for beers. It is also National Fossil Day.
Today, can they not pick a different day?
I'm wearing a fossil shirt.
Here's a couple more. It's Metastatic Breast Cancer Awareness Day.
No Bra Day. Perfect. It makes
Perfect.
sense.
It's also the Navy's birthday. That's kind of applicable. And it's also World Hospice and Palliative Care Day. It is about damn time.
You know, that was an old Bim Bam bit. Griffin McElroy would do the random holiday, and then the other two brothers would just hate it.
Yeah, that's
Know
true.
that?
He would list off all of the different holidays of that week or whatever. Yeah, they hated it. That's right. They also that was another one that Travis would do Mad Libs, and everybody hated those. But our Mad Libs are good.
Fools.
We haven't done one in a
Our
while.
Mad Libs and our holidays are better.
I'll keep
Becca,
that in mind. Hello.
Becca, it's that time.
I know it is.
Dave's been like antsy for like.
Dave's not even trying to hide his yawns. I'll try to like if I start yawning, I'll try to like get behind the microphone and yawn in silence and try to hold it in.
Dave looked like
Dave's like
how a senator would yawn during a filibuster.
That's right.
Just God damn it.
A Republican at the listen to Blasey Ford just yawning away.
I like beer too. What the fuck's the problem?
Don't y'all like beer?
All right. This one is called A Mocking Place. Presumption of innocence and human courtesy exist side by side, only if removed from the machine. The pool of potential against the mouthpiece of guilt. There's a cost there. The amount is up to whoever benefits from it. But without a frame of reference, you'll never learn where you're going.
That one's
spot on.
Mindbender.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Haywood Banks, for our theme song. Thank you, Brad, for being on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for waiting for me to get home. I paid a lot of money so I could leave work early.
Oh, you did?
Not really. I paid $3 to somebody, and I was trying to give away money left and right. Like, hey, $5, you do this for me. $5, you do that for me. Nobody took me up on it, and I was like, all right, fuck it. I'm just going to do it right now.
We got people at work offering like $20-$40 to get out 2 hours early.
Oh man, I've been in stores like that. Like our stores there were never like that, but I've worked at Papa John's where that was like people paying $50 just to not close.
And the thing is, they start at 50 too. Like, hey, I'll give you $50. I'm like, whoa, start at 10.
Yeah, seriously.
And if they say no, be like 20.
They're dumb. I started at 5, and then I was willing to go up to 20.
Also, listeners, remember we have a voicemail. You want to chime in? Sorry, it's the only way. We can't have you calling in the middle of the show. It's just not possible yet. But give us a shout. 865-316-6955. Dave.
865.
I knew it.
316-6955.
See, I think that first
865-316-6955.
Is that the Russian?
I like it.
The Russian guy again?
Brad Moto.
If only I knew what accent that was.
All right.
All right. Peace.
All right. Peace out, guys.
That's what he's doing right now. The deuces!